maybe we could turn back around to the process and to the coaching elements of Children at the Well. And Danielle, we've had your observations, and we'd love to hear more, but I'd like to hear a poem.
Oh, okay. I can share a poem. I'm thinking of a woman I used to see on my way to work years ago. She stands on the corner of Washington and Swan. She looks like she used to sing with jazz musicians. Bessie Smith singing "No One Knows When You're Down and Out." She holds her brow steady, shoulders back like a dancer, dancing in her mind to the songs of struggle and life. She inhales to prep for the question, holds her breath for the answer, exhales to keep from dying because she's met with so much silence. All she hears is her own voice bouncing off the noise that surrounds her, surround sound silencing her. She stands on the corner of Washington and Swan. On the corner right behind the Capitol building, where government don't see her, where vendors sell hot dogs and relish, and the hot sun reminds her what hell is. She's been standing like homelessness never breaks her spirit. Truth is, she's been waiting for change. Not the kind that wrinkles, and not the kind that jingles. Truth is, she's been waiting for change. Wanting to be something, realizing the people who are something aren't sharing the wealth, no knowledge to spare, like these folded bills in their pockets that aren't forgiving or forgiving. She stands on the corner of Washington and Swan where her clock is ticking to the sound of heels clacking the sidewalks, fresh suit tails wagging in the breeze. They wear slacks with sneakers. On their lunch breaks to Dunkin' Donuts for the iced coffees, walk right past her to the vendors to get their french fries and iced teas. Seems like nobody sees what her eyes see. She stands on the corner of Washington and Swan, on the corner where the buses stop, where people carrying bus fare wish they could share what they don't have because they know what lessness is. So close to it, they can taste the gratefulness in them. She swallows the gratefulness in them that they're not in her shoes. But her melodic voice continues. She's singing the blues. She's singing the blues. She's still singing the blues to the jazz of car horns, jingling keys, the drum of her heartbeat, and one last chord that keeps her unashamed to survive.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. I was holding my breath.
Whoa. Whoa.
My mouth was a little dry.
I just, because you transitioned from your intro into the poem. Mm-hmm. So it was about 2 verses before I realized you were into it. And then were you ever into it? That was just, and of course, I was trying to place Washington and Swan. Mm-hmm. That's right by the Al Smith building, right?
It's, well, the Capitol building is there, and across the street is that really large,
the education
state, yeah.
So there she is, right in the center of everything, and people are going right. Mm-hmm. And then that line about she was looking for change, not wrinkled or then jingled, and that was just it just kind of that caught me right there, saying, "Oh my." It was just I don't want to. I mean, I'm going to be effervescent here, so
I loved the not money, not forgiving or forgiving.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. That the double meanings that I heard, I think it's Stephen Schwartz, who composed the music for Wicked, the music and the words. And he likes to have, I have been changed for good. That has, has 2 meanings, that for now and forever, or with the goodness issue. And so you had several. You had the forgiven, and you had the change, and maybe there was another one, but I went, oh yeah, that's poets do that a lot.
We like words. Yeah.
We like words.
And definitions and meanings.
And then the placement on the page too is a thing that, is way cool. But
Now, Have you published your poetry?
Yes, I have. I published a book called Dreaming in Creole, and it's a collection of poems and some prose and one short story about my Haitian heritage. My family is from Haiti originally. I'm first generation
Really?
born here, yes. And the book really pays homage to where my family is from.
Wonderful.
And is that available?
It is available.
Where? How?
And we'll get you a slide.
Yes.
You can purchase it at the Open Door Bookstore in Schenectady.
Oh, really?
And you can also purchase it at the Market Block Books bookstore in Troy, and then it's also on Amazon.
Right. And the title again?
Dreaming in Creole. And Creole, the common spelling for Creole is Creole, but I spell it Kreyol. And the reason I spell it that way is because in Haiti, the spelling for Creole is Kreyol. So I spelled it the Creole way so that
Not the New
I could
Orleans way.
just to distinguish it from other Creoles.
Wow.
Whoa.
Wow. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
I was born in Bridgeport and grew up in Fairfield.
Wow! I went to high school in Fairfield.
Wow. I didn't, but I've always wanted to go.
Yeah, I went to Ludlow, but on Umpqua, and I don't know where the high school exists. The population has, anyways. So I don't know if you went to Old Andrew Ward or.
No, I went to Notre Dame Catholic High
Okay.
School for 2 years, and then I transferred and graduated from Central High School in Bridgeport. Yeah.
I think that's where my mother graduated. Last century, 1930, something like that.
It's a small world, and I've got some Connecticut ties too. I want to go back to the poem, because the other thing I heard in the poem was I heard a script. I heard the dynamism of a play, because I'm going back to that Mary Wagner thing about searching for signs of life in the universe, where the one woman showed that who was her partner.
Lily
Tomlin did on
Jane
Broadway.
Wagner.
Jane Wagner. And because there's so much in there, and there's such keen observation, and the fact that it's set around the political capital, and so if the character was the homeless bag lady, watching the goings on and beginning to interpret some of the themes you've got in there, it's a powerful drama, and there's a lot of very strong potential metaphors about the reality of Albany, and even the story of how you found her, because my hunch is that you found her or she found you, right?
I saw her. I ride the bus, and I was working part-time and going to grad school, and I was pretty broke. And so when I talk that last stanza, when I say people carrying bus fare and wish they could share what they don't have, I'm talking about myself. And it's interesting. I think that at different points in life, sometimes we see things more because we're closer to it. And it was just, I just saw her on a regular basis on my way to my little part-time job, and grateful for that, even though I'm still not where I want to be, but still grateful to be there, And so there's a lot of, when you start to open your eyes and make observations and really see people, really see them, then it does something to how you see yourself and what you're feeling. Yeah.
Wow.
The word empathy was what I kept feeling. Here's this woman, you, or the voice of the poet. I see that woman. I see this thing in her of singing, and you brought us back into the singing at the end. And I think that is one of the ways we become that channel of peace, is by noticing, as you say, noticing, witnessing, and opening our hearts. If we can't open our pocketbooks, we can at least open our hearts.
Yes. And witnessing her courage, that's not quite what I mean, but she's down and out, but she's still making that beautiful music that she's offering to anyone who goes by. That she still has that artist in her, and she's still keeping that alive. That it reminds me of there's a little community in Alabama, Gee's Bend, and it's a black community. Most of the people have the last name of Pettigrew because that was the name of the slave owner back in the Civil War. And I bumped into a display of their quilts the opening day at the Museum of Fine Arts. I just happened to be in Boston, and I wanted to go back to the museum because I used to live in the neighborhood, and there was this exhibit, and I love quilts, and I didn't get the backstory because we were like a subway train full of people moving towards the entrance, and I got shunted off to this room, so I didn't see and I said, look, all their names are Pettigrew. Oh, it's all these family, and then I went. And then I got I went, oh, that's why they have the same name. And so, to me, the Civil War is like, so far back, it doesn't touch me. But these people are still really connected to it. And they're in that first room. There was these quilts. They look a little like Amish quilts in that they're geometric shapes, large geometric shapes of primary colors put together, but not a pattern, not a bear paw or split rail or anything like that. More abstract, if we're talking in terms of art. But there was one that was made up of blue jeans, pieces of worn out blue jeans, including the blown knees. And once I got the backstory, it was like this was all this woman had to help keep her family warm. And so she put them together, but she put them together in a pattern because to feed her spirit. She couldn't just, the easiest thing would be just, stripes but no, this was deliberate, and it was
Still singing the blues.
But then another room, and they had them chronologically. Another room, it was all corduroy, because these women had a contract to supply corduroy bolsters for Sears Roebuck for several years, and so the scraps of fabric they had were corduroy. And quilting, there's a top, there's a bottom, there's a squishy middle, and you have to sew those three together. You sew the top and the bottom, you create those layers, but then you have to connect the three. And sewing through corduroy is like, why would you do that? Because that's all you had.
Right.
And you're keeping your family warm. But they, again, not strips, not just, the quickest way to do it. It was
art.
It was art. And the women, the current women of the community who are still making quilts were there, and they were sitting proud, as well they should be, signing the book. It was
Boy, something.
It was really something, and it was at least over 10 years ago, but I still see those pictures of them in my head. And one of them, we were crushed again in one of the hallways, and there was one of the women, she had a name tag on, so I knew she was one of the quilters. I said, I love your work. And she gave me a hug. And,
back to the, in a way, the script is already there, and the way you do that poem is like the quilt. It's the patterns there, the drama's there, so it really doesn't need to be a play. But it was quite wonderful just the way you do it. I'm effervescent on both sides of me, on all sides of me, because of the talent that's here. And the kids at the well, the children at the well, have you inoculated them with a poetry spirit? Are these kids beginning to generate some poetry, or has that not happened?
I've shared poems with them. That's the space that I'm most comfortable in. So I've shared poems with them, and my poems tell stories. So it works. And then I also feel like there's so many different things that overlap when you're talking about storytelling, or you're writing a novel, or you're writing a poem. There's sensory things that you consider when you're telling a story, when you're writing a poem. There's the images, what's happening, what's around you, what does it look like, what does it taste like, and bringing the audience in. All of those things overlap between poetry, and it's like a genre fluid type of exchange. So they get a lot from that part of it, I think, from me, that I'm able to take all the things that I know from performing poetry or writing poetry and what I want to convey in a poem, and adapt it to how you convey that in a story.
Yeah, I think for me, finding my intention for telling a story is key, because I specialize in stories of real people who made a difference, and true people, actual people who made a difference. And so once I figure my intention, then I can prune. I don't need to know they were born in Bridgeport. Sorry, that, or maybe I do.
Maybe it is.
So you phrased it, and why what did you just say?
About conveying this?
Yeah, conveying. Figure out what you want to convey, and that's true even in a folk tale. That you still have an intention of like Nasruddin Hoja, even though it's a playful side of and a different way of looking at things.
What do you love about this story? What is there about this story? Doug Lipman uses the expression MIT. What's the most important thing? And there's lots of ways to say that and to look at that. But yes, that's what we're trying to do with the kids. And so what are you telling this story for? What's the story about for you? And they're very new to storytelling. And we got 2 more rehearsals, so we haven't gone off any tangents of like, hey, let's work on poetry this week. No, let's get this story learned and beautified, and however you're going to tell it.
Polished. Well, shaped at least.
Yes. Yes. Crafted.
And another commercial message, these kids are rehearsing, and they're going to do a program in April, and then they'll be tuned up. If you have an idea where you might want to enthuse a group, inviting these kids to perform and to become part of your group, it's a gimme. It's a gimme, for goodness, I'll tell you.
And the With Our Voice website.
Right.
That would be where to find Paula, who is in charge of directing.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. There's a slide that has her email address, her public email address on it. We have 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Did this go by that fast?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm going to let the poet have the last word.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know what the last word can be right now.
Make something up, or
No
pressure.
Sure. How about I do the title poem of my book?
Okay.
And it's, I dream in a language that feels like home. The words come to mind when I can't find the right ones in English. This language I learned first, the cadence, the dance that sways with my tongue. Le moi parler Creole. When I speak Creole, I have the voice of Haiti in my throat, thirsting to tell stories that may never be translatable, but will always end with hope. And for that, they will always be worth telling. That worked.
They always
Doesn't get
end
any
with
better
hope.
than that. Thank you, Danielle.
Oh, they always end with hope, so they'll always be worth telling. Yeah, I think that's my stories, except for one that sort of crashes. But yeah, ending with hope is worth telling.
I would make sure that the Clergy Against Hate had that one on their literature. I know the group, and I mean, it just
So it's time to say goodbye.
Well, you've listened to rare talents, and we've enjoyed our time together here. We hope you've enjoyed your time together there.
And we'll hope you'll come back again, and or look us up on YouTube, storycircle@proctors.org. Click on YouTube.
Much good cheer.
And may your days be filled with stories and joy.
It goes all my life's a circle, sunrise and sundown. The moon rolls through the nighttime till the day